everyone, my name is Neha and this is a tutorial to my summer set press-ons. I completely designed and created this nail set all by myself, so I'm going to take you through the design process, the painting process, and I do want your input as well. I am in a nail competition, so I would love any suggestions or any tweaks that you think I should make so that way I can better my set. I hope this tutorial helps you guys with any nail techniques and anything that you were interested in, and if you guys have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. Also, if you guys are interested in buying any custom sets or any of my pre-made sets, I'm gonna leave a link in the description for any of you guys to purchase. So hope you guys enjoy the video. Hey guys, so when I start my press-ons, the first thing that I do is set up my press-on stands. As you can see, I have some like pink, they're kind of worn down stands. I got these on Amazon. You can also get them on any beauty store. Basically, these stands will hold up your press-ons so that way when you're painting, nothing gets on your fingers and your hands, especially if you're using gel, because you want to avoid getting like a gel allergy. The biggest thing that I learned with using these stands is you have to buy like press-on stand putty. I tried using like tape for the longest time, nail glue, everything. It kind of just sucks. So just splurge that extra like $5 and get nails putty. It's just like this white putty that you can get at any nail store again or Amazon, and you can put it in between the press-on and the stands and it'll hold it and nothing will fall off, and it's literally perfect. As you can see, I'm just rolling up the putty and then putting it on the press-on stands. One tip I would say is that try to make your like thumb and the middle finger have a little bit extra, make it like a slightly bigger ball, and then the pinky just make it a little bit smaller so that way it doesn't like overflow the press-on and just kind of like pouring out on the sides. Here I'm starting to put the press-ons on the stand. So I decided for this summer look that I was gonna do almond shape to fit like the fruit theme and everything. For this specific set, I'm doing a universal medium size. So the way I size my press-ons is I do extra small, small, medium, and large. And then all I'm doing is I'm filing off the little nibs on the press-ons because each one they're usually pretty good, but most of the times they have like a little bit of a plastic piece on the end with the number and stuff, so I'm just filing that off. And then I'm going to buff off the surface, and this will help the gel from spreading out and making random bubbles and just basically staying on the plastic tip. So my inspiration for this design was like a summer theme, so I started off with some blue ombres and then I added a flower and a starfish. This is going to be out of 3D gel, and then I'm going to have to use milky white and some blooming gel to create this water effect, as you can see here. And then this nail is also going to have a little outline French. This is going to be a seashell nail with 3D gel. Also here it was going to use 3D gel and some hibiscus flowers. And then I'm starting to do some fruit nails. I'm gonna do an orange and a kiwi. I'm gonna do them on both of the individual ring fingers and the pinky fingers, as you can see here. And then this one's gonna be kind of like a mermaid nail. It's like a full ombre effect with the mermaids. And then the last one is gonna be just a base coat of red with some 3D flower. Here I'm just applying the base color for the 3 and the 2 nails on those fingers that have the designs on them, and then I'm doing the red base coat for that 3D flower. Here I'm going to be mixing a light orange and a light green for the kiwi nails. I'm mixing these because I'm going to be using the same color for the crust of the nail, so like for the peel of the orange and peel of the kiwi, and so I just want the inside of it to be a lighter color or a lighter version of the bright green and the bright orange, so mixing it with white helps to achieve that, and this is what I'm going to be using for my base color. So here's my base coats that are completely done. So the first design that we're going to start out with is the fruit kiwi nail. So in order to do this, I start with drawing a line down the middle and then doing one halfway, both vertical and horizontal, and then I basically just split this up diagonally, and then I split each subsection again in half. So doing this gives me like all the little slices of the kiwi nail, and then after this I just add little loops in between each section that you can see that I'm doing like little C curves basically at the end of each section, and then filling that in with white, and then lastly just putting a small line across it in the darker green that we lightened earlier with the white, and then that is it. That's the end of that nail. So now we're going to get started on the 3D flower nail. So starting off with this red base coat, I'm going to roll out 4 balls of the 3D gel, and I'm going to place them on the 4 spots of this nail, the top, bottom, left, and the right. And then using my my silicone nail tool or my metal nail tool, I'm just gonna flatten this out to resemble a flower petal, and I'm flattening it out completely down into like the flower petal shape, and then I'm gonna add like little line indents to make it resemble more of the 3D pattern and not just like a flat flower. And then after this, I'm going through and I'm adding some more depth by adding like orange and then some more white in the middle just to make it seem more of a textured flower. And then lastly, I'm taking the same red base coat and I'm mixing it with white again to make a pastel color of this red, and then I'm going to be coloring around the flower in order to make the base coat a different color and then making the flower pop. Okay, so I low-key forgot to film the ombre part of this nail, but both of the middle finger and the thumb have like a blue to the beige ombre, and I just do this using a sponge. If anyone has any questions on this, I can make a follow-up video. Yeah, so this is just an ombre. You can do this with an ombre brush, a sponge. I've seen some people do eyeshadow. I personally don't recommend it because it opens up this whole new case of worms about allergies and cleaning and not using that eyeshadow for anything else, etc, etc. So after you get this blue to beige ombre, all I'm doing is adding a milky white base on top, and you can achieve this either using a milky white or you can mix base coat with white and making like a whitish clearish mixture and putting that as a coat. Once you do this, you can use either blooming gel or again base gel, just the regular clear version. Don't cure the white, and then just add dots of this clear gel into the white base layer, and it'll just spread out and make the water effect, which is what I'm doing here. So after you create this base for the thumb and the middle finger, we're gonna start with the thumb design, which is just an outline French. So as you can see, I'm kind of just outlining here the middle part of the French and then going around the free edge for the other part of the outline. This part I kind of just gotten through practice. The good thing about gel is that if you mess up, you can use alcohol or acetone and just quickly wipe it off and restart. So I suggest just practicing lines like on a separate piece of paper or something like that. After this, I'm using the rhinestone gel or the builder gel to make dots for the pearls and for the gold pieces of my design. And so I'm just adding 3 at the top and then 4 at the bottom. And then I'm going to add color onto this. I'm adding the gold for the top ones and like sparkly white for the bottom ones to kind of resemble pearls. You can also technically add a white layer in between the sparkles to make it more of like a pearl look. And then after this, just adding top coat and then making sure everything is sealed. Okay, so now that we've finished the French nail water finger, now we're gonna do the other water texture finger, which includes the flower and the starfish. So I kind of do the same type of method that I did on the other flower. I first roll them up into balls using the silicone tool, and then I do 5 for this one, and I put it in one of the corners, and then I use the same tool and I just flatten it out by adding little indents on each of the little balls to create a flower shape. Using the same method, I do the same thing to create the starfish, where I, instead of making balls, I make little cone-shaped 3D gel pieces, and then by putting the end of the cone, the little pointy side of the cone for each of the points, and having all the middle sections meet in the middle, and I do the same thing and blend it together to make this shape. And then I start painting the flower. You can use any colors that you want. For the flower, I just went with beige and white, and then I did a pink center. And for the starfish, I just went with bright yellow, and then I did like brown lining on it at the end. So starting the mermaid nail, the first thing to do is what I recommend for all of my ombres is to use a sponge. Now, if you just get like the cheap makeup sponges like I do, then there'll probably be like some lint and stuff on the very like top layer of it. So what I tend to do is I just use scissors and I cut off the very like surface part of the sponge before I use it, so that way like lint and stuff doesn't get into my nail. I recommend doing this because I feel like it gives the most blended look for all my ombres, which is the exact same method that I used for the blue ombre that I had earlier. So basically all I'm doing is I'm putting 4 different colors on here that match the rest of my nail set. So I did the yellow, blue, the red, and the orange. Now I just blend it on there, and then it's going to take a couple of cures and a couple of taps to get it to be like the perfect opacity. So I just flash cure it in between each layer, and then I do a full cure at the end of it. After this, I recommend putting like a good solid top coat before you start doing your 3D gel lines. And this goes for everything. When you do the gel lines, once you do like your hard 3D gel and in the lines, I recommend going with the top coat and lining the 3D lines instead of using the brush itself to top coat the lines, because then it kind of just makes the whole design muddy and you can't really see the lines, and it just kind of looks like blobs or like an uneven nail surface. So I recommend using the nail brush and going back over the lines with a smaller like liner brush. So now starting our almost second to last nail, we have a French tip look with some hibiscus flowers on it. So basically for this one, I start by drawing a line across where I kind of want the end of my French, like my smile line to be, and then from there I go halfway and draw another line below, and then I do diagonal lines from the side walls to the midpoint line at the bottom, and then I connect my smile line and make it more curved instead of like the boxy kind of look that it has right now. And then I fill this in with the orange and I just adjust it, clean it up, make sure it looks like how I want it. I can make a more in-depth tutorial on how to do any of these techniques. This is kind of like a basic rundown, but yeah, so I'd go ahead and do that, and then once that's cured, I do like a little outline in another color, and then we're gonna put a top coat, once again putting the top coat before we do any of the gel lines. So now I'm gonna do the gel lines with the 3D gel, and I kind of just want 3 lines on both sides. So I'm starting with the biggest one, and I have it start like near the smile line and then go towards the middle, and then I just fill in like the extra space with 2 more lines, and I repeat the same thing on the opposite side. Now we're going to start with the flowers. So the easiest way to kind of think of these flowers is I start with 5 points. I kind of had to redo these a couple of times because I didn't want they weren't as like symmetrical as I wanted them the first time around. So I start with 5 points, and then for each one of those dots I do 2 dots a little bit below it and next to it, and it makes like this little 3-dot triangle kind of looking shape. And then using this, I bring the ends with my liner brush to the center to make it flower, and I just kind of quickly add a little bit more texture by connecting the dots together to make more of a petal and less of just 3 dots. And then I'm going to repeat this by making a 3-petal flower, doing the same technique where I start with 1 dot for each of the petals, and then making 2 smaller dots below it and next to it, and then connecting them to the middle, and then just filling in the little texture, making sure that they look even, redoing it if I need to. Okay, now that we're doing the last nail, the seashell looking nail, I know earlier that we used base gel as a replacement for blooming gel to make the water effect and stuff like that, but for this one I actually recommend doing the base gel instead of blooming gel, just because for this one you don't want the lines in the seashell to bloom. You want them just to kind of like melt together to give that kind of effect of a seashell. So you want them to blend a little bit, which is why base gel kind of helps, because it won't blend completely like blooming gel where it just spreads and makes different types of shapes. You just want the lines itself to kind of like diffuse a little bit. So I'm putting a layer of foundation gel on this nail, and then I'm kind of just mixed a couple different browns together, not like mixed, but just lightly mixed it, so that way all the colors still show through when I pick it up with my liner brush. So now picking up those 3 different kind of colors, I take it and just kind of swipe it across in little line motions to make the seashell effect, and I have more of the lines concentrated at the bottom, and I kind of avoid going towards the top so that way the bottom has more of the lines. and it creates that kind of effect. And then once I do this, I go back over with like darker browns, lighter browns, making sure it's all a little different. There's like a little bit of variety. You kind of can adjust this to how you want. You can add different colors if you want, like a little red to make like a red seashell. You can change it up completely and just do different colors. Okay, so then after that, I'm gonna cure it for the full 60 seconds. I'm gonna put a top coat because now I'm gonna do my 3D gel. And I start in the middle and I have the thickness at the very tip and then bring it down to the middle and then just start lining the sides down to the middle again. Then once again, using the top coat, I'm going to line the lines with the top coat instead of using the top coat all over the nail again, which will just kind of muddy up the lines. Now that we painted all the nails, we're just gonna work on getting the finishing touches. So here I have a tool called the wax pen, and it basically picks up any beads or any rhinestones, anything like that, so that way you don't have to use glue on a stick or something like that. This is kind of like an extra splurge of something that makes it easier to do like nail charms and stuff like that, especially if you're working with that a lot. But anyways, so I ended up putting some little gold beads in between the hibiscus flowers, the flower on the middle finger water nail, and the big 3D flower nail as well. And then I put one more gold bead on top of the seashell nail just to give it a little bit more elegance. And then that was the end of my finishing touches, and you can see the final result.